Hey guys, thank you for joining us again for an exciting episode of YOMO. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. And today we're on reflection 64. One more to go. And so today's reflections is about a girl and a dad.
That's right. Could it be any more appropriate, right? So this is book 364 or reflection 364, which I think was actually book 289 overall. But yeah, so this is our second to last book, right? And there's a little secret with this book as well. This is actually the last new book that I chose on this journey because I always knew what I was going to finish with. I don't know, after the first month of writing. Once this thing really kind of started to look like something that might be able to stick with and endure, and it was a Beaver Must Dam activity, I guess, if you will,
Mm.
I immediately got into my brain with the last book, the 365th, reflection or book or whatever it was going to be. And I was pretty stuck on that. And that's what it ended up being because I thought it would be an appropriate way to end the journey. So really, 364 was actually my last new book that I chose on this journey. So call it my last actual book, I guess, in general, right? So the reflection title for this is Girl Dad, hashtag Girl Dad, which I don't know if you've ever seen that before, but like on like
No,
Twitter or Facebook, famous fathers, it's just like a thing of like, hey, I'm a dad to a lot of daughters. You're a girl dad. You know what I mean? Like being a father to a girl is different than being a father to a boy, right? It's different, yeah. And you love them differently, you treat them differently, and your relationship is different. Like my relationship with Luca is a little bit more roughhousey, and I encourage him
right,
to
because
go.
you are a girl. Like,
Yeah,
what do you do with them? It's like, I
you
don't
don't.
know.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
and
don't
you
know. Right, exactly. Right. It's a confusing species. It's same way from like my wife with Luca. She's like, I don't understand what's happening, and I'm like, what do you mean? He's just being an idiot. Like he's just doing idiot things. This is what we do. Like I mean, this is what little idiot boys do.
that's
And
why dad worries a lot more about girls and mom worries more about the boys because
sure,
the thing is we like you and I talked about yesterday, it's like, we did not experience it, so we don't know. But
right,
because we are a boy ourselves, so when hey for a boy, say, hey, that's how he is. He's being a dumbass, just like his dad, just like we did
yep,
before us. So it's okay. Don't have to worry about. Don't need
right,
antibiotics. Don't need
normal.
nothing.
Yeah, right.
He'll
It's
bounce
normal.
out.
It's normal. He'll figure it out. No, totally. Yeah, you're right. It's just, you worry more. Yeah, I think that's a great way to sum it up. So as I was searching for the perfect book, I don't know if you remember this, but this was April of last year. It was about, it's February right now of 2024. So it's been almost a year since I wrote this reflection. And I don't know if you remember back in that time frame, but I was stressed out about like, God, what is the perfect book going to be? What am I going to pick? Like, I mean, I was really stressed out about it. I was like,
Yeah, you were being a
I,
girl back then.
exactly. So that's a good way to sum it up too. I was like, man, it's the last book of the Yomo marathon, and I was like, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be the right book, and I scoured all of my anti-library as soon as I finished In a Sunburned Country, and the next day starting up a new book, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm gonna read. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Well, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect. So I'm like scouring all day long. I'm like scouring my anti-library and like everything. There's like at least 500 books on there. Nothing felt right. It's like no,
Mm.
normally we would just. I don't think I've ever thought about any book that I pick, other than oh, it sounds interesting. Let's Amelia and I can go read this one and we'll see if we can learn something. I don't think I've ever thought about a single book, on this journey other than this in particular one where I was like, it's got to be the perfect book. For some weird reason I had it in my head, I was like, it's just, it's got to feel like the appropriate book to cap off this journey because it's really the last one. And just everything I could not figure it out. I remember asking you, and you were like, I don't know. You gave me
I
some
don't.
recommendations, and I
I
was like,
say I don't care.
right, right. I asked my wife, and she was like, I don't know, whatever you want, And I'm like, rightfully so. Like, you guys weren't gonna give me any because you're not me and you don't understand what's going to appeal to me or not, right? So it's a dumb question anyway. I'm just sitting there racking my brain. I was starting to get really nervous. I'm like sweating, getting anxious, and I'm like, I got to figure this out. So later on that day, after I'd finished, I was kind of just exhausted trying to figure out what this right book was going to be. And for some weird ass reason, like I wrote in this reflection, I was like, it's kind of appropriate because, like, from The Alchemist, the very beginning, the first book, when you want something, the whole universe conspires to make it happen, right? I'd actually just given up on. I was like, I don't know what it is. I don't. I'll figure it out. I guess. I just don't know.
Mhm.
I can't. I'm tired of stressing about it. And I remember pulling up. You ever heard of this service called Unroll.me before? So it's a email auto enroll unenrollment
Mhm.
service. So it's free. Like you just sign up, put your email address, and then every new email that you get that comes through your inbox, they ask you, do you want to keep it? unsubscribe or roll it up until a daily roll up email. It won't touch your inbox, but they'll compile it and send you one email with all of your, you know, Dick's Sporting Goods 50% off and Bed Bath and Beyond and blah blah blah. Like only the ones you choose to keep that you want to see like the promos for, it'll like roll it
Mm,
up in a daily email. Does that make sense? You know, okay.
yeah.
It's pretty cool. So whenever I get like just a shitload of like once a month, I'll go in and I'll just either subscribe or unsubscribe and whatever. So I went in there. I was just kind of bored messing around in my Unroll.me app, and I was like, I had been like a month since I had gone to check all the different new emails that had come through that I need to either keep them or unsubscribe or roll them up. Well, I never check this on the roll up email ever. So like it's in the app and I never check it. I really don't even know what emails I get that I've even put onto the roll up email because it had probably been like 6 months since I did it. So I was unsubscribing all this stuff and I was like, yeah, it's been a long time since I've looked at this. I was like, what is there what has been, emails that I've been getting? So I click on the roll up email for the past day and scrolled through and I saw Audible had a 50% off sale going that I got in this roll up email. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. I read a lot of books on Audible, and I was like, well, go see what they have, right? So I'm like, 50% off sounds good. So I'm just scrolling through, and I buy like a few books that just sound interesting for once Yomo's over or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, it is what it is. And then as I'm scrolling through, I see this book with an old pair of shoes on the cover, and the title says "My Year of Running Dangerously." And obviously, I run every day. Amelia and I go run every day. I was like, what is this about, right? So I click on the author was Tom Foreman. I have no idea who Tom Foreman is. I'm intrigued though. So I click on it, and I'm reading the description, and it comes to find out it's a book about a dad and a daughter running a marathon together over the course of a year and training for it together,
Mm,
doing it as a father and daughter duo, right? And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, come on, like that is the absolute perfect book ever, right? Because I've often referred to this as a marathon. And obviously this whole journey is Amelia and I doing this together, right? And I was like, can you get any better than, a book about a father and a daughter running a marathon together and all the lessons they learned? And, and I was like, this is it. This is the book. And it was just like, when you want something, the whole universe conspires to make it happen, right?
mhm,
So I get into the book, and it's a really, really good book. This guy Tom, who's actually, I guess, a CNN correspondent reporter, he took up a love of I think he formerly, if I remember, he used to be a runner, but he'd been like many years since he'd really started running again. For whatever weird reason, he just decided I'm gonna run a marathon, and he got his daughter to do it with him. So this whole journey is about him training for this marathon and his daughter training for the marathon, lessons they learned together as they go through the whole entire journey. And, got to the point in time where I'm like, kind of crying at the end, like halfway through this book, because I'm like, I could just see all the symbolism from my own life. And this journey for me is very special because it's Amelia and I's journey together, right? And this isn't just me finishing this marathon, book 364, Reflection 364. This is Amelia as well, right? So like this has always been about her and will always be about her. And it was always something that I thought this book would be just like the perfect way to cap this whole thing off. And as I wrote on here, as this is I run for Amelia, and I'm gonna run for her for the rest of my days. And this is what living for two is all about. And daughters are incredible, like you said. I mean, I don't necessarily understand them still, and Amelia and I've had to find new ways to connect through this whole entire journey. Tom in this book felt like he was reborn after connecting with his daughter through this journey. He was in his mid 50s and felt like he had lost his way a little bit. This journey with his daughter helped him to refine himself and also connect with his daughter. Same thing with me, right? I feel like I have a pretty good handle on who I want to be for the rest of my life going forward after this Yomo marathon. We're not stopping now. Tom didn't stop running after this, and neither did his daughter. So kept doing this stuff together. And Amelia and I kept doing this stuff together, and we'll continue to do this stuff together. At this time, I didn't know what our next adventure was. We know what it is now. The adventure starts on her 4th birthday, March 15th, just around the corner for the new pickleball club. And then obviously we continue to write every single day. Hashtag girl dad. Couldn't be prouder to say that. And what an amazing book and way to finish off this journey. Love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think like you say, it's the way that I feel is like, for us as dads, it's much harder for us to connect with our daughters because we don't know what it's like to
Right.
be a girl. So
Right.
we treat them different. And it's also very difficult because they go through changes and you don't know how to behave. Like a lot of times I don't know how to behave.
Right.
And it's a sad thing, but it's also a beautiful thing when you see like Tom and his daughter, you and your daughter have a special connections because
Right.
in order for you to understand each other, you need to have that understanding between the two person. But like I say, it's very hard for a dad to understand the daughters. because I can understand the boys pretty easily because I've been a boy myself, and a lot of stuff I can relate to, and a lot of stuff I have experienced, and I can and
Right. It's not
exactly
empathy. It's I understand. I literally understand,
what I was about to say, because
Right.
of me and for you, we don't have the empathy gene, so it was difficult for me to navigate that world, and
Right.
I'm still struggling today. A lot of times I don't know how to deal with the girls. I mean, I tread very lightly, but at the same time, I still have to be the enforcer, right? The rules and whatnot, and how to behave. But at the same time, I don't want to be for boys. I know. I don't know for whatever reason. I just know how to deal with the boys. I just don't know how to
Yeah.
deal with the girls,
Because you
and
are. I mean, like
I still
it's like
don't.
how to deal with a beaver when you're a beaver. Like, well, we just damn. I mean, this is what we do. I mean, like we already know what this is what we talked about with the raccoon and the lion. I'm not a lion. I respect and admire and revere the lion, but I'm not a lion, so I don't understand, right? And I can understand, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that you can't be in awe of the lion and respect it and all that other stuff.
Right,
But
and I think that's where I was saying is that the good part, the lucky part is when you're lucky to have a meaningful relationship with your daughters. Because for me is, I do these kind of things. I do a lot of computers, but I don't expect the girls to like computers. I mean,
right,
that's not supposed to be, it's not a profession for girls, because girls are more sociable. So I don't expect them to sit in the computer and just stare at the computers. Well, that's not their
sure,
nature. So that last stuff I don't have in common with my daughter. I have four daughters, but I mean, what do I have in common with my daughters, right? They don't do the same thing I do. They don't like the same thing I do. And that's the thing, is it's very hard. I see the relationship with my daughter changes over time when they grow up. We grow up, like when they were younger, they want to be the daddy's girl and they want to be that, but it's still not commonalities.
right,
It's still, there's a love for the daughter and a dollar for dad. But when they get older, let's say they get to the point where they're like maybe 8, 10 years old, their behavior changes,
right,
and they act different. And it's almost like overnight that they change. They change their behavior. They change the way they interact with you, right? Things they don't tell you, well, things completely, like, they turn into something different. And
right.
so to me, it's like I say, for the most part, it's very hard for a dad to understand the daughters, and very hard for a mother to understand the sons.
Right.
Even though you
Like
think it's your children,
right,
you understand them, but in reality, you don't. And because
right,
at the same time, I can't really educate my daughters, because the thing is, there is a way that I behave as a man, as a male. There's a way that I behave, right?
right.
I know whatever I'm telling my son, that whatever I do, it's good for them, because the thing, I know there's only one thing a son wants, right?
Yeah,
There's only
a beaver knows how to teach another beaver how to dam, you know? I mean, like it's like you just know how to talk to your fellow,
exactly.
beavers, right? Like, yeah.
Exactly. So
Right.
there's also the with knowing what I know now, that I have to be more careful, because what I think is good for my daughter is actually worse for them, right?
Could be.
That's
Yeah.
the thing is, I'm telling you that the devil doesn't know he's a devil, because that's
Right.
what he's saying is, I'm your father. I raised my daughter to be this way. You raised your daughter to be a man,
Right.
okay?
Right.
And then no one wants that. And then
Right.
the mother saying, well, they raised his son to be a woman. It's like, no, the man has to have his role,
Right.
and he has to do something that it is pertains to him. You're talking about the roses in no man's land, right?
Mhm.
Not very male can be roses. Most of the roses in
Okay.
no man's land are female.
Yep.
Okay, most of the guy who is protecting you and sacrificing you and putting his life for you are men, mostly men. That's what they do. That is what
Yep.
they are calling to do, and
Right.
they're willing to do that. It's
Right.
not like you're forcing them to do. They're willing to say, "Hey, I'm the man. I'm going to step in front, and I will take their burden for you." That's what men does. So we know what a man does. But if I were to say come in and know what I know now, it's like, if I think that I know what my daughter needs and what's good for them, right? That means, you think about what we keep saying to ourselves is, I don't know shit, you don't know shit, right? And so how do we know shit about what's right for my daughters? I mean, the only thing that I'm saying is, with knowing that, okay, if this is my son and he's like me and he's just kind of, I mean, basically we all want the same thing at the end, right?
Right.
And that give me confidence that, hey, you do this. But for a daughter, if they say, hey, dad, I want this, dad, I want that. And I say, well, no. And they ask me why. I can't confidently tell them, hey, this is the reason why. This is what I think, but
Right.
I don't know if I'm right.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I say I really envy the dads who have connections with their daughters. I have 4 daughters, they have no son. So I'm like that guy looking from the outside in, say, hey, that's cool that his daughter is running with him, and then have Amelia like going with you, doing things, keeping you straight. I
Right.
need somebody to keep me straight, but my daughter is on a different path, and I can't change their path because I think it's good for them. Because
Right.
mm, if I know anything about statistics and probability, if I think that way, chances are I'm wrong, right?
You are, like, I mean, I totally agree. You said something that's like, I think so important for how I feel about this journey and for Tom as well. And I think speaking as yourself as a girl dad as well, the ability to find something to connect with them on that you both get is so critical in order to be the best girl dad that you can be, right? Because it's hard to share any commonality. It's basically what you're saying. It's hard. There is no commonality for you to share amongst them.
I'm telling you, I have 4 daughters. I still
Naturally, right,
don't have any commonalities with my daughters, and
right,
I'm treading very lightly because at one time I have to be stern. At some point I have to kind of not making any kind of harsh, like forceful decisions and make him do certain things because I
right.
don't feel confident
Can't
myself.
right,
I
yeah,
can't I
yeah.
can't do them. And so that's what I'm saying is, like I said, I envy those people who does have those connections, those commonalities.
Well, but
So
I think that's on all of us, parents to figure out how to connect with our kids, in our own ways. And I mean, whether you have it now or don't, I think it's kind of irrelevant, I guess, on this particular journey. But I think the goal should be find a way to connect with your kids that makes sense for both of you, and be able to share experiences together, stuff that you both love. And then that's when you can feel most connected to your children, right? Like Ronnie and Tom, his daughter Ronnie, and Tom, the author, this was a way for them to reconnect, through doing that. That's when like really magical things happen, in my opinion. Like it really does.
can't force it because there's something that
No,
I like to do, right? I like to go and build houses. I do handyman stuff. I,
right,
I, I write programs. I do coding. I do these things. My kids completely different. I mean, there's certain games that I want to play together with them, right? They like different games as well. I mean, I love to play games and they like to play games too, but at least they somehow
right.
have something in common. But the games they play is completely different. So I can't even connect with that. I tried before is, we get together and say, hey, we get a bunch of people the same, like we go to like these multiplayer role playing games online. And basically you kind of get an avatar, you go into this virtual world. I tried that too many
Right.
times. It isn't sticks, right? It doesn't
Yep.
stick because even though they see in the same world, but they look at the world differently. So, but like I said, you can't really force it either because if you're a beaver and you can't force a fox to be in, in the water with you, it's not good for them, right? And then if you say, well, I
Right.
want to have commonality with the fox. Well, what can I do? Is you can't really force it. You're gonna have to find something.
It's
But
yeah.
if it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. You can't
It
force it.
agreed. Like there is something that a beaver and a fox can connect on. I guarantee it. There is something out there that you guys
But at the
both
same time,
love
they
to
have to
do.
understand because the thing is, like I say, there's something that I do, and I can do it every day. Eventually, if they get to the point where they have been foxy enough to get to the point where they have like bloom at their stage and they can recognize some of the commonalities and they say, well, that does this, let me do it too. Then I think at that point, it's where you can say, hey, okay, there's an opportunity and we recognize it and we can connect.
Right.
But like I said, you can't really force it. You can look and you can find, but you can't really say, hey, since you're a fox, you have fur, I have fur, therefore we
Right.
I
Right.
said, what do we do? I think you have to kind of tread lightly in this
Yeah, you
arena
can't
because
force it. You can't
because
force
the
it.
thing is, a lot of time I look at society from a spectator perspective, and I think we are approaching this all wrong. It's just because it's not about what you think is good, right? It's about what actually is good for the other
Right.
person. Right? I say, well, Chris, I think it's good for you to do this and good if you do that, right? Because I'm approaching from my perspective, but it doesn't benefit you at all to do what I asked you to because you're not me. You don't have all the experience and events that happens to me that you can pick up from. It doesn't work like that. Right. And so that's what I'm saying is I think, what you reflection something about when you do nothing, right?
Right.
You do nothing because nothing is actually better than doing something because if unless you really know that something is going to be like
It's the platinum rule. I mean, it's like it's do unto others what they want done to them. Like
but that
and if you
probability we're
right.
talking about like remember that the reflection when we're talking about giving antibiotics to Luca, right?
Mhm.
Because the thing is if you give antibiotics to Luca, there are more things that can harm them than not giving the antibiotic to Luca.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
And so
I
so
agree
by
with that.
default, like if you're not sure, unless you are 1,000% sure, you
Do
do
no harm.
nothing.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's my stance on these things as well. Is I don't want to force my kid to do something that they don't want to do just because I think they should do it. Hey, it's good for you to do this. I say that, hey, Chris, man, you have a mouth on you, and then you can probably be a good lawyer, and you should be a lawyer,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I'm looking at you and say, hey, is that true?
That's what a
You
lot
can
of
talk
people
your
told
way.
me.
You can talk your way out of anything. You can convince the
Right.
juror to get this guy off or this girl off, whatever, to
Probably.
have lenient judgment, whatever. You can
Right.
do that. You have that skills. You
Sure.
do have that skills, right?
Right.
But do you want to be a lawyer?
That's not what lawyers do. That's what they do
But
on
that's
TV.
but that's what I think you should do because I'm not a lawyer myself, and I think
Right.
hey,
Yeah.
that's what a lawyer does, and I saw that on TV. And
Right.
how many people are telling you that that's not it's not in the right place that I know 100%. Like,
I
hey,
mean, a podcast co-host sounds way more from in line with somebody that likes to talk about things all day long than a lawyer that's being forced to that probably never gets to go to
but
trial.
my point
One,
is
more
people
than
have
once
told
every six
you,
months.
but people have
Uh,
told you that before.
Yeah, it's the same thing of like sales. You're like, oh, you'd be really good at sales. Well, you go work at Salesforce and you get to, when you're an actual account executive, you get to have like one, maybe if you're lucky, if you're in like a mid-market or above size company and you're working that role as an account executive, you might get to have one, maybe two conversations where you get to sell like throughout the course of the week for maybe like 30 to 40 minutes. Every other conversation you have is just you setting up a presentation and letting other people do talk, and then you just sit there and go, okay, does anybody have any
But
questions?
that's the point
Like,
though. That's the point though.
like that's
You unless you know 100%, 1,000%,
right.
right?
Then don't
Do
do it.
no
Yeah,
harm. Don't do
right, right.
anything. The chances are, probability wise, you're
You're
going
wrong.
to, yeah, you're gonna create problems.
Yeah, I agree. So like, it's got to be an organic thing for anything, whether you have sons, daughters, spouses, friends, whatever, right? Like you can't force. I hate to say this because like, I love Kevin to death and I've talked about Kevin before, but Kevin's one of those people that will try to find a connection with any single person he sits down with. And sometimes I'm listening to him try to find that connection, in a conversation and I'm like going, Kevin, just give it up, man. Like it's okay. Like you don't need to connect with everybody. Like it's fine. Like you don't need to know how to code, when you're talking to True. True doesn't give a shit if you know how to code. Like just stop it. Like you don't need to connect to True on this. Like,
And
I
I'm not,
promise you.
I'm not gonna be impressed if you know how to
But
code.
that's Kevin's beavering, like he loves to try to find that connection. Like that's what he loves to do, right? So I can't take that away from him. But me on the sidelines going, God, it's okay to not connect with everybody. But for him it's not. But it's the same thing to say to me, like, Chris, it's okay to shut the fuck up every once in a while.
No,
It's
can't
okay.
do.
Apply it in this situation when we're at church and you're talking to me about, I don't know, God knows what, about, hey, look at those lights. Those are really cool. I wonder how they made those. And you're like, Chris, shut the fuck up. We're in the middle of mass. I don't want to focus on how the stained glass is made. The time and place is important. Otherwise, it's running downhill. But at the same time, like you're saying with your children in particular, like you cannot force it, right? Like, I mean, like sadly for me with Luca these days, I think I've showed you videos of this before, but Luca, when he was 8 months old until he was about 2 years old, would play pickleball with me all the time. Like,
Mhm.
he would come into the room and be like, I want to play pickleball. Like the first things he could probably damn near start to say was, I want to play tennis. I want to play pickleball. And I'm like, okay. So we would throw the ball around, he was getting really good with his swings. He would go down to the courts, all the time, especially in the summertime up until the summer. He still says it. We got to go down there one 60-degree day a couple of weeks ago. We got to
Mhm.
go to the courts. And the next day he was like, oh, I want to go to the courts. I want to go to the courts, which made me feel really proud and happy. But it's been probably like 5 months since Luca's asked me to play pickleball. And I've asked him to play pickleball, like, I don't know. For a while, it was like every day. I was like, hey, Luca, you want to play pickleball? And he's like, no, I want to watch Mickey Mouse. And I'm like, it like hurts me to my core, but I can't fucking force it, right? Like he loves to play these days. Like as kids, as you know, kids will every 6 months, every 3 months, every month will probably have a new passion that they're into, like, and that they get really obsessed with, right? Like for Luca, he's been obsessed now for the past 4 months with this little play toy kit that we get. It's called Love Every, and they sent these developmentally appropriate kits every 3 months, so you get a new kit with really unique, cool toys and whatever. 2 kits ago, they sent this actual kitchen sink, and you put water in it, and you turn it on, and it pours out water, and then it recycles it all the time with a little battery thing. It has a little dish thing over here, and it has all these little dishes. And then the next session, the next thing, the 3 months after that, they sent all these little like beakers and like funnels and stuff, and so now he just like all day long he just goes over to his little sink that we have sitting on our coffee table. He turns it on, he takes his little beakers, fills it up, and then he just transfers water like all day long, just transferring water and transferring water, spilling it everywhere, all over our floor, all over our table. Like every night he's like covered in water with his sleeves and his shirt. We have to change him like multiple times a night, I feel like, because he's just drenched. But my point being is like that's what he's into. And there was this book called The Nurture Assumption, where there's 2 lessons that I took from that book that I will never forget. The first lesson is the children's peer groups are the ones that really raise them. Like that's where they get their personality from, is their peers. It's not from your parents. Like, I mean, it's really not. I mean, I'm a firm believer in this at this point in time. They might behave one way in your house, but really who they are is who they behave with their peer groups outside of the house, and what they learn and how they're behaving.
That's the way it should be. Because you think about, this is what I'm saying is, parents, and this is what I look at the older generations as well, is they say, well, back in my days, I walked, 100 miles through the snow, blah, blah, blah. I say, so, I mean, that's your day. I mean, people don't expect you to do certain things. Here, it's like, if you're like 5 fucking minutes late, they put you, like, it's like, and they say, well, you shouldn't have a phone. Blah. I say, well, no, today's technology age, you have to give them a phone. You should say, in my day, I don't want a phone. I'm fucking 70 years old. To me, that is stupid, right? You use your time to enforce the rules and regulations on your kid. The only thing you're doing is handicapping them.
And not only that, you think that they're learning from you too. Like my parents used to make me do certain things, right, that were anti-raccoon activities. Whether I would comply or not comply is kind of irrelevant. I'm never going to enjoy it, and I'm never going to.
I don't think anyone has ever complied in the way that you want to comply, because, like, let's say you go and you force me to do something, depending on how rebellious I am.
Right.
I'm the kind of rebellious that I will do things, but I'm not like one of those guys where I'll show you my card, right? So I'm that guy.
You'll wait like, wait for the right opportunity.
I'm the kind of rebellious kid that you won't know until I did it.
Right.
Now you can stop him before he or she does it, because he shows his card. I don't show my card. Right. It's like, so I say yes, but I'll go back and I'll whack whatever that I want to whack. Right. And that's the thing. In any way that you try to conform your kid, if they don't like it, they're going to bottle up all of the things they don't want, and then at a certain point they explode.
Yep.
They explode, and they'll. So either way, they are going to be who they have to be. You cannot make a person be something else.
This is the art of parenting downhill or parenting uphill. Really is the kind of, we could write a book about that. In all seriousness, is because you're spot on, right? Like here's the other thing from the nurture assumption that I will never forget. Besides the peer group raises the kid is really where they get the personality.
Right.
The second one is probably the most important thing for me as an actual item to remember as a parent. It's the number one thing that we could do well is watch what your kids really enjoy doing and then help them to do more of that. Like if Luca really loves to play with water, then take him to a pool or get him into swimming lessons or buy him more scientific contraptions.
I was a chemist myself. I mean,
there you go.
He has the making of being a good chemist.
He could understand that, but like that's my job though.
Right?
Exactly. Like my job is to watch, observe, and learn and figure out and see what he likes to do, what brings him joy, or Amelia, and then to have them help them to do more of that. Right? Like that's
it's like teaching a kid how to ride a bike.
Yeah. You mean like once they get it and let them go, like, or don't?
Can you teach a kid how to learn a bike by telling him how to ride a bike? Or just let him ride a bike and say, well, what did you learn? Yeah. But the thing is, you think about teaching a kid how to ride a bike. Think about how you teach a kid how to ride a bike. You don't say, hey, get on there, maintain balance, and lean to the right, lean to the left. Depending on how much you lean, how much you lean to the left, how much can you teach a kid by telling him how to do it and what to do? No, you have to let the kid explore on his own. The only thing you can guide him, ask him the question is, what do you think? How do you learn? How do you feel? That's all you can do. And he is going to learn the way that he knows best. You cannot teach a kid how to ride a bike.
Agreed. You can't teach anybody how to do anything, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, they teach themselves. All you can
But that's parenting is like that. What I observed is what it is. It's kind of like against what I've learned. It's like you are telling a kid, hey, go do this, go make good grade, go study this, go read that. It's like
here's the path.
I have seen people who read like books after books after books after books, and they're still dumb as a post because they read the fucking wrong book, right? So it doesn't matter what you read. It's like, hey, if you read, you're going to be better. No, you don't. It's like saying eating, you can be healthy.
Right.
Think about it, man. Think about what I just said. It's as simple as that. It's like your kids should be reading anything. Could read anything. Basically, I can translate and say, okay, your kids should be healthy. They could eat anything.
Right.
So you think about the probability of somebody giving you that advice and you're going to eat anything. So because you want to be healthy, what is the chance of you ruin your health? And what is the chance of you having a healthy body? It's the same thing with reading. It's like reading, there's something you should read and there's something you shouldn't read. There's things that's really junk. Most of them are junk, right? That's what I'm saying is people don't understand that, and it tells you how to do it, right? You be smarter. Go read. Don't matter. Read anything. And the point I'm trying to make is people can't even understand what I'm saying when I even simplify to the point where I say, well, if reading is like eating and you tell me to read anything, I say eating is like reading. You can't tell me to eat everything and be healthy. Does that make sense? Even then they can't understand. So I don't know how to even cross a gap. When I'm hanging duck, that's not how it works. They don't get what I'm saying. So I'm giving you this analogy to something that simplifies that, and he couldn't even get it. So what else can I do?
Nothing. Let them. Like that's the thing. Like what you're saying is actually the thesis of Clubany. It's the thesis of being a good, effective parent. It's the thesis of being a good, effective leader in business. It's the thesis of doing everything. It's people are who they are, and watch them and then help them to figure out what those talents are, those reoccurring patterns of thoughts, behaviors, and emotions that they uniquely have. Like, I don't know where it comes from. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if it's nature. I don't know if it's nurture. I don't really care. All I know is by a certain age, like people are who they are for the most part. You can twist that and put your elephant toward a different path by taking those same characteristics, and that's like running downhill. Or you can take those same characteristics and go try to do other things and force it into other areas where you're not good at. But either way, it's about talent management, really. It's about understanding what their talents naturally are and then getting them to go help them to do that more. But you can't teach them that. You can't show them anything. This is Zen and the art of no, tennis? The inner game of tennis. The inner game of tennis, right? This is that whole thing where he was like, he taught a symphony player, it was like the cello or whatever story that he told. He went to this cellist thing and they were like, hey, can you help me to be a better cellist? And he was like, I don't know anything about being a cellist. And he's like, but I'll give it a shot, sure. And he was like, how do you feel when, where do you feel like your biggest areas of struggling is? Well, it's when I get to this certain time, doing this, and this, and then this happens. And he goes, okay, well, have you ever done it right or the way that you wanted to? Yeah, when I do that, I think he said, move his tongue or something like that. It wasn't a cellist. It was a like a trumpet player or saxophone player, I think. He's like, I need to move my tongue at a certain place at a certain time, is when I've normally done that. Okay. Sounds good to me. Try it again. The guy played the first time, right? That was when he gave him the assessment afterwards. I remember the story vividly now because the guy plays the saxophone. He asked him, he was like, what do you think? And he was like, sounds good to me. I mean, it sounded like you did great to me. And he's like, how did you feel like you did? And he was like, I think it was pretty crappy. When I got to like this section, I didn't do X, Y, Z. And he was like, okay, well, what would be the better way to do that? And then he explained to him, well, it's how I manipulate my tongue with this time at this place. And he was like, okay, well, how would you do that? And he was like, well, I would do it like this, and this. And he was like, okay, we'll try that. So he plays it again, and it sounds, as he's recounting this, he goes, it sounds the exact same to me, the way that he did it. But as soon as he got done, the whole entire orchestra that was around him was like, oh my God, that was the best. And he's like, yeah, I got it, and he was like, what? He's like, I didn't do a fucking thing. Like, like that, because that's the truth. Like, we can't, you can't help me to be a better pickleball player, but what you can do is to help me to discover how I think I would want to be a better pickleball player, and then get out of my fucking way and help me to get out of my own fucking way to go do that, right? Like, it's no different for your parent or for your children.
Why I'm like pissed in a way is I see society does that all the time. Is
It is.
from the parents, they telling you specifically how to live your life, and especially teacher, they tell you especially how to do certain things.
Yep.
And to me, this is where it hinders our young generation. It hinders our future, hinders our children, because
Right.
that's what they're doing right now.
That's how they think
Right.
they need to live their life, like, versus the opposite of exploring who they are and trying to beaver on purpose, right? We're forcing them, a beaver, to be a fox all day long, and then they're like, I don't get it. I'm foxing and I'm doing the fox stuff, but I don't like it and I don't get it. And you're like, oh, well, just keep foxing. Just keep foxing. Like, it'll work itself out. Just keep foxing. And then you wake up and you realize,
I mean, this is
I don't
what I'm
like
saying
foxing.
is, we messed up our young generation so
did.
bad. I mean, and then you go and you say, well, the Gen Zs, the millennials, they're lazy, they're entitled, blah, blah, blah. Oh, where do you think they get it from?
Well, you're making them do shit that they don't want to do. Like, I mean, maybe the previous generations, they were I don't know if generations have spirit animal, but like, maybe they do, right? Maybe collective entities have spirit animals as well, right? And generations may be that. Like, maybe millennials and Gen Zs and Gen Xs, they all kind of do have their distinctive character traits. I'm not saying we all fit into the exact same mold, but we do kind of have somewhat, connective things with us, right? And like, boomers, what worked for them doesn't work for me and for
It
you,
doesn't it doesn't work because time has changed. People keep saying, hey, millennials can't keep a job. The thing is, you think about it, what the fuck do I need to keep a job? What are you giving me? It's like, okay, you work at Salesforce, like they can fire you anytime.
The boomers fire the millennials at any time. Why? I mean, like,
And but back in the day, it's like, you can't really fire people. It's like you have this job, but people are paying you like pensions and all this stuff. There is thing you get. And then in the millennial generations, like you don't pay them that well, and prices are sky high, and then you probably gonna fire them at any moment, and then you turn them back and you complain about them, saying, hey, they can't hold a job. It's like they want to know. It's like, what are you giving them? So the thing is, there's always this different perspectives. I'm not saying everybody's right. I'm just saying everybody has their own perspective. Everybody's trying to do their best, and that's the thing is that's why they're missing the point. It's like, stop complaining and do something about it. You need to at least educate them to say, hey, look, I'm not going to hinder your path, whatever journey you want to take. If I can help you, I help you. If you can't, then you can't. But I can't tell you, hey, you're a bunch of lazy bum and you don't amount to anything. You think about the 70s, everybody's on these, marijuana. But there are certain people who are in the dorms and the laboratory building things that we see today. It's not to say that a whole generation is completely rotten to the core. There's going to be people who are, there's people who aren't, right?
Disagree more with that idea, to be of that we're not doing good stuff. We are doing good stuff. Like, true. You know how many mass layoffs events that I've personally have seen in my career since I've graduated. I graduated from college in 2007.
You're president a dozen of
more.
It's unheard of in the 80s, right?
Yeah, right. It's in my parents' generation. Like,
people retire at 45. Now you say, hey, I can't retire until I'm fucking 85 years old. And then you asking me why I'm, all this millennial, why can't I keep a job? Say, I mean, I'm not dumb. Why am I keeping a job for you to go and dish on me and take on the shit you give me and you give me back nothing, right?
Exactly.
Why am I even want to be loyal to you when there's nothing to be loyal for? There's always this balance, right?
Insane. It's insanity. I mean, there was one time when I was a manager at Angie's List. The only way I could describe this is it felt like a mass execution. We overhired. I remember actually physically getting
knowing that we are going to fire somebody. That's where the thing is. you did that first. So you
They
can't
did.
expect this guy to be loyal to you because the thing is you did it with intention saying, well, I'm gonna hire a bunch of people, right? And they're gonna have to fire a bunch of people. And you also did a thing where they do the great switch, meaning that hey, when it's a mass layoff, we're gonna lay off people off so we can get better talents. And you basically do that as well. So you are looking out for yourself. Why is
Right.
it wrong for the young kids to looking out for themselves, right?
But that is the
What you give
culture.
them to get the loyalty from them?
Nothing. That is the culture that is the precedent that has been set in this generation. To be honest with you, I mean, you look at anybody's profile on LinkedIn, it's 2 to 3 years average tenure at almost every company. Like that's a high tenure at this stage.
Yeah,
But
to 2 years is a long time.
but no, what I was going to tell you, like this. So this is no joke. This is literally a work experience of mine. So it's 2013. I am a manager over a sales team at Angie's List. Is a new department that we were just booming. Like we had just started this new business unit within the bigger business unit of Angie's List overall about a year and a half before that. And we went from $0, literally $0 as a brand new business unit to, I think we got up to like $20 million a year annually within like the first year and a half or 2 years. So we had about 30 employees at that time. And then, the decision was made by the CEOs and the COOs and the C-suite people, I guess. Hey, we really need to double down. This is growing like gangbusters over here. Like there's a whole lot of promise for the future. Like we really want to double down on this. So we had about 30 employees. The department goes, okay, to get to where we want to get to in the next 12 months, we need to have 160 employees in this department, and we need to be doing this amount of revenue, this amount of profit, blah, blah, blah. It was some equation that everybody all came up with, right? So they hired 6 new managers. I was one of those new managers that was promoted from my sales role into a managerial role. We went from having 3 teams to now having 9 teams. I started on this team, I shit you not, day one mandated. This is what I was told. I think my team was like 7 employees that I inherited from existing, whatever. I was told I need to be up to like 15 employees or whatever by like June. It was like 3 months later, something along those lines, And I'm like, how am I supposed to do that? Like, how am I going to hire almost 10 more people, train them, coach them, develop them, blah, 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 and get the right people in the right seats in 3 months or whatever? And they're like, well, I don't know. We got to do this just to get the plan. So all my other managers that were in this department that also were recently promoted into this role, we were all kind of tasked with the same thing. We were in an interview for like, I don't know, it felt like 3 hours a day, every day for like 3 months straight, because we're all trying to like, I mean, we couldn't even fill the amount of interviews that we needed to fill with anybody. At a certain point in time, we were like, fuck it, fine, I don't know, I'll hire him. Like, I don't like, seriously. So I got to a point in time where I was at like 10 or 11 employees or something like that. And I was like, I told my boss, I was like, I don't know where I'm going to put this person. I don't know what territory to even give them. I don't know where to fucking put them at. I guess I could carve out this little shit ass market, but they're going to fail. Like, I mean, this isn't even fair to them. It's like setting them up for failure right out the gate. And he was like, I don't know. You just got to keep hiring. We got to get to 160. We got to get to 160, right? And at this stage, we were like 120. I wanted to honestly almost vomit every time that I got a new interview and request from our HR people to go interview. I'm like, I can't do it again. I don't know where to put this person. I don't want to talk to you anymore. So this is all going on while I'm hiring, ramping up new employees. I'm getting the old team accustomed to my new culture. I'm trying to still hit our goals and achieve whatever we're trying to do. So we get this all done. It's been about 3-4 months. I think I get up to like 14 employees or whatever on my team or something along those lines. And then like 2 months later after that, the department directors are coming to us and are like, okay, we overhire. We do the employees we put in are putting into these little shit ass markets and these little tiny territories that we don't really need to be, they're like, we need a course correct here. So we sent everybody this is back in the days when you still had to go into the office, right? So we sent everybody this calendar invite, invited them to this room, like an 8 a.m. meeting or whatever, like early in the morning. Our department director is standing on a table. There's like 40 people in this room. And he's like, you're all fired. Sorry. And I'm sitting in the room and I'm like, this is fucked up, man. Like, this is just fucked up. Like, some of those people had been there for less than a month and we're like, you're just fucking gone. And I'm like, this is insane, right? Like, and this is the environment that these people
ender now.
I had to fire my entire team at one point in time because they cut half of the company. And then they did it again a year and a half later. And then I got repurposed into a new role, like, because they're like, well, you're valuable. We want you to stay. But this is nuts. Like, what is wrong with these places? Like, Salesforce does the same shit now. Their Ohana is like, apparently, like, just get the fuck out the door, Ohana. You're not my family anymore. The company I just worked at fired a shitload of people constantly. They hired a VP of sales that hired me, then they fired him 2 months later. I'm like, what the fuck are you people doing? How could you have any loyalty? Anyway, this is insane. I've lived through this all day long. Why would I have any loyalty to anybody?
And that's the reason why I told you I'm pissed, because you are setting precedents for these people and you're asking them to behave opposite of what you're treating them.
Right. They want you to be an Ohana member.
I mean, it is so like yucky to think about it. This is absolutely hypocrisy. It's like I wouldn't treat you like shit, but I want you to be grateful that I treat you like shit. That's what you're telling me. And the thing is, you're asking the millennials to be like the 80s kid, grow up and blah, 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 having all these shit. Like, hey, you fucking retire at 45 with a full pension, right? These kids don't got nothing and they have worked to 85, and you're telling them that they lost their ways and they're rotten. And it's like, no, you fucking, I mean, you are the one who lost your way. You don't see the things I supposed to see. That's what I'm saying is the kids, they live among their peers, and that's the only way they can live. You don't want to hinder them by saying, hey, I'm going to, enforce my way of life onto you. And you say, hey, this is the way to behave. That's the way you behave because you were treated differently. Right. And that's what I'm saying is I'm, like I said, in today's age, I'm still kind of pissed of how teachers are treating the kids and the students. Like they're treating these kids like as prisoners. You think about it, you can't do shit. It's like, hey, everything is about punishment,
regulation, and you got to go to the
code.
You
can't do your raccoon shit just
testing.
Because you're a raccoon.
Right. Yep. I mean, no, you're 100%. So I have one of my closest friends from college. His name's also Chris. I was the best man in his wedding. He lives up in Chicago. He's the only person. I want to highlight this. The only person that I know that still works for the same company that he worked for in his first job out of school. It's called Power Construction. Chris was always he was the dad at all times. He was like one of those guys that's destined to be a dad, like a soccer dad, and he loves it. That's what he is now. He loves to be a fucking soccer dad. Like, I mean, this is like, he's the most responsible person I've ever met. He was the best man at my wedding, not because he was my absolute best friend from childhood, but because I knew he was the most responsible person that I fucking knew. That I was like, if I need something to be done, he will do it, and he will do it exactly right, and he'll be detailed about it, and I don't ever have to fucking think about it in a tiniest bit. One of my best friends, Adam, got mad at me. He's like, how the fuck am I not your best man at your wedding? And I go, why do you think you're not my best man at my wedding, Adam? And he was like, well, yeah, I know I'm not like the most reliable person all the time and everything. I'm like, bro, this isn't a slight on you. You are one of my absolute best friends. To be the most responsible thing, to do the most, that's not you. But anyway, this guy's name is Newcomb. His last name is Newcomb. Newcomb is the most responsible person I've ever met. And he is also, coincidentally, the only person that I know that still works for the same company. And it's been over 20 years, which has got to be the most insane anomaly of our age at this point in time. It's insane. For somebody to work at one company at this day and age that's a millennial out of school, been there for over 20 years, never worked anywhere else. Like that's like World War II shit, Like, I mean, I don't even know how that's even possible now.
The 1%er. It's like there's only 1%. Like that's so rare nowadays.
That is also why he was the person that I would have wanted to be my best man at my wedding, because he did what he was supposed to do, because he's supposed to do that. Anyway, we're a little off track, but that was fun. Good midday Yomo. All right, so second to last book, technically the last new book of the journey. This is my year of running dangerously and about #being a girl dad. Question for you is, who do you run for? I know for me, it's Amelia. For Tom, it's his daughter, Ronnie. I guess the question really should be, can you connect with your children in a way that's meaningful for both of you, so you know that you can do it together, is really the sentiment that I would say that I took out of this conversation. And I think you're spot on and right. So it's something for everybody to think about, especially parents, but everybody really. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you have to find the commonalities. Otherwise, it's very hard to connect, and you become the devil that doesn't know he's a devil.
Thanks for joining, and we will see you for 365 tomorrow, which is insane. I cannot believe that is the last one, but the last one of the 365. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.